All right, welcome to lecture 3.2. We're going to be talking about cells and their organelles today. We have a lot to cover, so keep in mind that organelles do specific jobs, okay? Put that on here. Organelles do specific jobs, so when I go through the organelles today, whoa, sorry about that. When I go through the organelles today, keep that in mind because each one of these is unique and they will be more prominent in certain cells over others, and we'll talk about that as we go here. Okay, so first one, organelles. Organelle slide is just basically what are they here? Organelles are membrane-bound structures that carry out specific activities. So some of them will make energy. Some will move things around the cell, transport things. Some will digest or destroy things. Some will receive signals. Some will hold the structure of the cell open. All of these are specific jobs that need to get done. Think of them like your organ systems. You know, your muscles do a job, your heart does a job, your kidneys do a job, your bones do a job. All of those things are sort of in cells as well. And that's where we get the term organelles, okay, mini organs. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to talk about a few of these, and I'll note where these are located too. All right, so first one here is going to be the cell wall. Cell wall is located, and the cell wall is a non-living cell membrane that is made of cellulose and keeps the cell from injury. It also keeps the cell from popping or expanding too much. These plants, or plants in general, need a cell wall so that they can maintain a certain shape. They have to remain turgid, and turgid just means tight, so they can stand up. These molecules, or this organelle, is made of cellulose molecules, which we talked about a little earlier, and cellulose is unique to plants. They make up the toughness that we see in plants. So cell walls protect plants from expanding too much and popping. The next organelle we can see here is right underneath the cell wall. In plants, it's right underneath the cell wall, but in animals, it's the first line of the cell, or where the cell begins. So this cell membrane is found in both animals and plants, and it's made of phospholipids. We've talked about that in our biochem unit as well. Phospholipids had a polar end and a non-polar tail. This forms a bilayer, which then in the end can protect your cell from the outside world. These cell membranes also have a selectively permeable membrane, which means some things can get in and some things can get out. So let's see where that is located here. Here's another diagram of our cell membrane. Within it, you can see proteins. These proteins act like tunnels that allow things to get in and out of the cell. You can also see cholesterol here, which keeps the cell moving, carbohydrates, which receive signals, and other proteins and structures that keep the cell membrane protected. So when you think of the cell membrane, don't just think of it as a barrier between the outside and the inside. Think of it as an airport that takes in signals and sends signals out. Acts as a barrier to other countries, right? Okay. Next one here is going to be our cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is going to be what every single organelle is bathed in. So when you think of, let's say, I don't know, imagine being in a swimming pool with a bunch of other students or friends, right? The water around you in a swimming pool could be the cytoplasm in a cell. Okay, it's a collective term for the fluid that everything is in, and that fluid is called cytosol. Okay, here's our fluid. So the cytoplasm, that's a place. The cytosol is the fluid. And every cell is going to have this, not only plants and animals, but also bacteria. You know the nucleus by now. We talked about that yesterday. Nucleus is found in eukaryotes, so plants and animal cells. And the eukaryotic nucleus carries DNA. Okay. You can describe that in another word for chromatin, but you know what? I'm actually going to just write basically here DNA. The DNA is found in the nucleus, and the nucleus is right here. So all that purple stuff is DNA. You can think of it as the control center. Okay, the control center being that it directs the cell what to do, what to make. It holds all the instructions to make a protein. So it holds info to make proteins. All right, great. Moving on, we get next to our endoplasmic reticulum. These are a network of membranes that transport things around the cell. There are different kinds of endoplasmic reticulums, so let's talk about what these are. So think of endoplasmic reticulum, think of a subway, okay? This is a transport system that moves packets of molecules around the cell. They're in both plant animals, but since they're an organelle, they're not in bacteria. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, they move proteins. So proteins get moved around through the rough endoplasmic reticulum. With the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, we move lipids. So both of these move packets of molecules around, but some of them do different, or some of them move different things. Okay? Also, the roughness of the endoplasmic reticulum here, these little bumps, these are ribosomes. We're going to talk about that next and what they are. Ribosomes help make proteins. So as you can see here, the endoplasmic reticulum helps make the protein and then move the protein around and send it where it's going to go. All right, next one. Next one's our ribosome. Ribosome is in every single cell, not just plants and animals. And the ribosome is the site of protein synthesis. We are making proteins here. When cells have a lot of ribosomes located on the endoplasmic reticulum, that means they send out a lot of protein signals. In cells that don't send out a lot of protein signals, fewer of these ribosomes will be located on the endoplasmic reticulum. They'll be located just in the cell somewhere. Okay, a ribosome is made up of little pieces of RNA, which remember is temporary DNA. Temporary DNA. And they are the smallest organelle. They're also one of the most essential ones because without the ribosome, you cannot translate the information in DNA into active moving molecules, which are proteins. So remember, DNA has to get translated into RNA. That then moves through a ribosome, and out comes a protein. Without the ribosome, proteins cannot be made. That's very important. All right, next one is going to be our Golgi apparatus. If you look back at one of these made slides here, the Golgi apparatus would be somewhere around here, okay? So a Golgi apparatus is going to modify, package, and distribute the molecules. I put this on here so I can remember to talk about it and mention it, but it is really the post office of the cell. Okay, it takes little packets of information and molecules and packages them, also labeling them. By labeling them, it lets the package know where to go. It's named after a scientist who discovered it, but really the most important thing is that it's very, very similar to a post office. Your cell sends the Golgi packages, and those packages get labeled for distribution. And then after they leave the Golgi, they know where to go, whether it's leaving the cell or staying in the cell or going to another organelle. The next two we're going to talk about are the mitochondria and the chloroplast. And it's hypothesized that scientists think that scientists have come to the conclusion through evidence based in fossils and other evolutionary evidence that mitochondria and chloroplasts have actually arrived to be in eukaryotes through almost like an engulfing moment. Okay, so here's what's basically happening. Um, a very long time ago, billions of years ago, eukaryotic cell may have engulfed a prokaryotic cell, and instead of digesting it, used it to fulfill some need. Okay, over time, these organisms evolved together to actually serve a purpose and live together. And what you see today, modern eukaryotes resemble that evolutionary history. So some animal cells will have just mitochondria in them. This would be like years. Some will have both in them, and plants really end up being the one with both of them. So basically what I want you to get out of this is that mitochondria and chloroplasts, they are ancestral bacteria. They related to bacteria. They have their own DNA, just like bacteria. But due to a concept called endosymbiosis, prokaryotes have been engulfed by eukaryotes, and now they serve a purpose in eukaryotes rather than just being on their own. These two lines of cells, heterotrophs, which are just have mitochondria in them. Autotrophs are plants, which can make their own food. So heterotroph, you eat other organisms, making you a heterotroph. Autotrophs make their own food. You use other people or other organisms for food. All right, so here's more detail on the mitochondria. Everybody remembers this from elementary school, but the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, it's able to change chemical energy. This is sugar into compounds that you use, into compounds that are usable for energy. They also have their own genetic material, just like bacteria do, and they're originally a form of bacteria, which is what I was just talking about on the last slide. So mitochondria take in sugar and they pump out energy. That's very important to remember. Next one here is going to be the chloroplast. The chloroplast is only found in plants. They're usually green because they are absorbing all other colors of light and reflecting green light. The one you see is green. And what they're able to do is they change light energy, which is the sun, into energy for cells, which is sugar. So think about that. These organelles take in sunlight, food, and water, and then these organelles pump out sugar and oxygen. So pretty remarkable organelles. Without them, we could not survive. All right, next one's going to be the lysosome. Lysosome is going to be your garbage disposal. This organelle really functions by digesting other molecules, and by digesting them makes them easier to be reused by the cell or expelled as waste. These are actually not found in plant cells. Plant cells will expel waste in a different way. But in animal cells, they're used not only to break down molecules, but again, break down even malfunctioning organelles. So lysosomes are functions for or organelles for digestion. All right, we've got two more to go. Next one here is a vacuole. Vacuole is a sac-like structure that stores not only water, but salts and proteins and carbs, so food and waste. They have a membrane that surrounds them, so they let in and out water as they need to store it. And plants have huge vacuoles because they need to maintain a tightness in the cell. As a vacuole expands, it's going to make the cell bigger and push everything to the side. And as things get more crowded in the cell gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then as it tightens up, gets turgid or ready to stand up. And plants use this to maintain the ability to stand up and give itself structure. So vacuoles store water, proteins, and carbs that help a plant maintain its tightness. And finally, the cytoskeleton is going to help maintain a skeleton. Okay, this will be the last one for today. Skeleton, you would think as structure, basic structure. It's a network of fibers that gives shape to a cell. So animal cells will use this for a majority of their skeletal structure. Plant cells will use a cell wall. Because animal cells do not have a cell wall, they'll have a very extensive cytoskeleton to help keep the cell open. Without the cytoskeleton, the cell would collapse in on itself and be like a deflated water balloon. So it's important that that is there. I know this was a very quick review of organelles, and it may have gone very fast for you, but if you need help, feel free to rewatch this, come and talk to me in the morning or after school, or check your book for additional information. There's many places to go for these organelle facts. So we're going to review this in class, make some analogies to it, and hopefully have it make more sense to you by the time we're done here. Don't forget to ask questions, and thank you for watching.